So I lived my life alone, with no one I could really talk to. Until 6 years ago, when I had a breakdown in the Sahara Desert. Something had gone wrong with my engine, and since I had neither mechanic nor any passenger with me, I set out to make the difficult repair all by myself. It was a matter of life or death. I had barely enough drinking water to last a week. So on the first night, I fell asleep on the sand 1,000 miles from any human habitation. A shipwrecked sailor in the middle of the ocean couldn't have felt more alone than I did. Imagine then my astonishment when a little voice woke me at daybreak. It said, "Please, draw me a sheep." What? Draw me a sheep. I jumped to my feet as if I had been struck by lightning. I rubbed my eyes hard. I looked around and I saw a most extraordinary little person who was watching me seriously. He is the best portrait I managed to make of him later on, but my drawing, of course, is far from as charming as the model himself. That's not my fault. The grown ups had discouraged me from drawing when I was 6 years old, and I never learned to draw anything except the boas from the outside and the inside. Drawing. So I started at this sudden apparition with wide eyes. Don't forget, I was 1,000 miles from any inhabited land. And yet this little fellow didn't seem lost, or try to death, or dying of hunger, or thirst, or frightened to the core. Nothing about him suggested a child lost in the middle of the desert, far from any living soul. At last I managed to speak. I said, "But what are you doing here?" And he repeated very gently and quite seriously, "Please draw me a sheep." It was all so mysterious, so improbable that I couldn't refuse, absurd as it seemed. Here I was, miles from any place, in danger of death. I still took a sheet of paper and a fountain pen out of my pocket. Then I remembered that I had mostly studied geography, history, arithmetic, and grammar, and I told the little fellow a bit erratically that I didn't know how to draw. He replied, "That doesn't matter. Draw me a sheep." Since I had never drawn a sheep, I drew for him one of the two things I could draw, a boa constrictor from the outside, and I was astounded when the little fellow cried out, "No, no, I don't want an elephant inside a boa. A boa is too dangerous, and an elephant is too big. Where I live, everything is very small. I need a sheep. Draw me a sheep." So I drew a sheep. Drawing. He looked at it carefully and said, "No, this one looks very sick. Draw another one." So I drew another one. My new friend smiled gently and intuitively. "You can see for yourself," he said, "that this isn't a sheep, it's a ram. It has horns." So I drew one more, but was rejected too. "This one's too old. I want a sheep that will live a long time." Then I lost my patience. I was in a hurry to start working on my engine, so I hastily scribbled a box and added, "This is a create. The sheep you want is inside." To my amazement, the little judge's face lit up with delight. "That's just what I wanted to do. Do you think the sheep will need a lot of grass?" "Why?" "Because where I live, everything is very small. It'll be enough if I've given you a very small sheep." He bent his head over the drawing and said, "Not so small, look. He's fallen asleep." That's how I made the acquaintance of the little prince.